We got more Harbaugh updates, so let's discuss. So, here's what we know about John Harbaugh being in the building on Wednesday. He was there for a good portion of the day. He met with Joe Schoen, John Mara, Chris Mara, Brandon Brown, Jackson Dart, you name it, whoever was in the building, he basically met with them. Now, from what I understand, let's start with Jackson Dart. Jackson Dart has been in the building a lot, even though it's officially the offseason now, and supposedly Harbaugh is not the first potential coach that he has met because he's been in the building. He's also taken pictures and met with some of the other coaches like Stefanski, and I believe Antonio Pierce was in the building, and a few others. So I don't think it was just like a one-off because John Harbaugh is here. What I also am speculating is from I got some sources in my DMs, and I'm putting quotes around them because I'm taking it with a grain of salt, because one of them told me that it was a done deal. He was signing the paperwork on Wednesday, and that was it. It was going to be announced that he was the Giants head coach. And I pushed back and said, with all due respect to you and your sources, there's no chance that that's happening, because this is not John Harbaugh's first rodeo. It's not his first contract signing. It is not his first job out of college in a bad market where he's taking the first thing that comes along. John Harbaugh is wanted by every organization with an open head coach spot right now, except for the Ravens, which is 8. That's a lot. And he decided that he was only meeting with 2 or 3. So obviously that is the case. John Harbaugh is not the coach of the Giants, not yet, but he's doing his due diligence as he should. I know there's a lot of people who said you can't let him leave the building. It doesn't really work like that. He is a well-respected coach, is wanted by other teams, and in a typical negotiation, you never take the first offer. So even if John Harbaugh and Joe Schoen and John Mara and Steve Tisch sat there for hours and negotiated the contract, you don't think he's still thinking in the back of his mind, well, I am still interested in the Falcons and this all sounds well and good, but like, I have to do my due diligence. That's how anyone should be taking any type of job offer. So it's not realistic that he was going to stay there, sign the paperwork, and all of a sudden, confetti, that John Harbaugh is the new coach. It's pretty unrealistic. So he is still interested in the Falcons and the Titans, which we will talk about later. But from everything I understand, it sounds like it was a very good meeting. He was there for quite a while. And obviously, the Giants really want him. They are making a strong push. They've had Tom Coughlin, Brian Daboll, a literal fired coach from the team, Eli Manning. They have all reached out to talk to John Harbaugh and tell him what it's like to be a part of this organization, and, positives about Jackson Dart and what he brings to the table and why he should want to work with him and all that sort of thing. So they're pulling out all the stops, which the Giants should do, right? If you really want this guy, he's the big fish. You got to put all the bait out there, chum the waters, and see what you can get, and see if he's willing to take that chance back on you. But the reality is that it's out of their hands. They've done everything they possibly can. So it's just a waiting game right now. So like I mentioned, he met with all of those guys. Brandon Brown was also in the room. Steve Tisch was there. And I have someone in my DM, so I'm going to call them sources, quote unquote, because I would say one of them was more accurate than the other. So I had one person tell me that he met with Jackson Dart and Scadaboo. Scadaboo's been in the building a lot because he's been doing rehab. And John Harbaugh and Jackson Dart has been in the building quite a bit, and he met with both of them. Now, a couple hours later, it was reported that he did meet with Jackson Dart, so this person was right about that. I have not heard any update from any of the national media sources that he has met with Scadaboo, so we'll see. I also heard from another source so the first person's source is people in the facility, and they had left around 3:45. Reminder, it's the off season, so they're not there all day, don't have normal scheduling, etc. So that was all that I got from this person. The next person's source is a very close person to Chris Mara. Now, I will tell you what I told them. No disrespect to your sources, but I'm taking everything I hear from strangers on the internet with a grain of salt. Because I'm not doing background checks on these people. Like, I can't tell. I don't know who they are. It's like not worth my time to go through and try and figure out like whether or not they're telling the truth about Chris Mara. It's just great. I hope it's true. If it's not the end of the world. So one thing that I actually thought was funny though is he told me, so you know how on Sunday that Chris Mara went down to Baltimore and met with John Harbaugh. So he told me that Chris Mara and his wife both went, which it was not reported. I don't think that the wife was involved. And he also told me that when they were deciding on what they wanted to eat for this meal, that John Harbaugh says, I'll eat anything but cheesesteaks because I hate them. And to that I responded, what kind of actual lunatic hates cheesesteaks? Like, we can hate Philly. I hate Philly, don't get me wrong. But a cheesesteak? What did a cheesesteak ever do to you? Anyway, very bizarre. So now I'm dying to know if the Giants end up hiring John Harbaugh, I will force someone to ask him whether or not he likes cheesesteaks, and then that can verify that. But this same person also told me that it was a done deal and John Harbaugh was signing the contract at the end of the day on Wednesday. And I said what I just said a minute ago. With all due respect, sir, I do not believe that is happening because it is out of the Giants' hands. They cannot force him to do anything. I'm sure that in the Giants' mind, they are doing everything right and they are doing whatever it takes to land John Harbaugh. But again, John Harbaugh has to bite. And he has to decide that this is the right bait for me and I am taking it and I am ready to roll, you know? So we'll have to see what ends up happening there. But it sounds like he met with quite a lot of people in the building. So I think that's very important. So the next thing I want to talk about is this, because obviously we know the Giants have been making a very strong push for John Harbaugh, but the reality is he's interested in other teams. So what happens if the Giants don't get Harbaugh? Now, I don't think it's the end of the world. I know there will be a lot of Giants fans who will be absolutely devastated about this, and that's fair. But again, it takes two people to tango, and you can't tango solo. So keeping that in mind, my only real concern is this, is that the other coaches who are interviewing for the job and are going to have opportunities with these 8 other organizations that have open head coach roles are going to be like, well, you know, petty about it, right? Like, they rolled out the red carpet for John Harbaugh, but all I got was a steak dinner and an interview. Like, that's rude, you know? I don't know. I like to think that these people are more mature than that, and they understand that John Harbaugh is, you know, the best of the bunch and as good as a coach as Kevin Stefanski, Mike McCarthy, and some of these coordinators are. They do not have the resume and the experience that John Harbaugh has. So that's the only thing that I'm really concerned about, is that, like, let's say Harbaugh goes somewhere else and they go to Stefanski and Stefanski's like, piss off. Like, you don't care that much. You know, I don't know. It sounds very petty and unreasonable, but you never know. These are big, strong men with their egos, and when their egos get, you know, tainted, they get defensive. So we'll end up seeing what's happening. I think it'll be fascinating, but time will tell. We have to wait it out and see. I don't think we're going to have an answer about John Harbaugh until after the weekend, because it is being reported that he is meeting with decision makers from the Titans. They are coming to his house on Thursday, today, in Maryland, and that they are going to have a conversation there. Now, there was another report that said that the Giants could be the only facility that he actually ends up touring. Maybe it's just because they were the only organization that was willing to fly him on the PJ. I don't know. But I do think that if you're going to sign on to be the coach of a team for the next, 5 to 10 years, I would think that you would want to go see the facility. I don't know. Maybe it's not really that important in the grand scheme of things, but I have to assume that these super rich owners, they got PJs. So, we'll obviously find out more as time goes on, but I'm under the impression that he's going to meet with the Titans on Thursday and that he's likely to meet with the Falcons again this weekend, because the Falcons was only a phone call. So I have to assume that there's going to be some sort of in-person meeting if he really is as interested in working with Matt Ryan and being the coach of the Falcons as it is being reported. Now, if you're someone who's like, I don't even think the Falcons should be in the mix, I think you have to look at it a little bit more objectively. Not only have they won a lot more games than the Giants have over the last couple years, so they're closer, they do have a relatively decent roster. They have a pretty good defense. They have some good pieces on offense. The biggest concern there is the quarterback position. But, Kirk Cousins reworked his deal. Michael Penix will be coming back from knee surgery. The only other concern is that they don't have a first-round pick, but Malik Willis could be a free agent this offseason. Russell Wilson is going to be a free agent this offseason. The Jets could cut Justin Fields. He could be available. So he could be in the market to pick up a quarterback just for 1 year to get him through until next year or until Michael Penix is healthy. You never know. Kirk Cousins, I didn't watch a ton of Falcons games this year, but I feel like he didn't look horrible. I don't know if you're a Falcons fan, you might feel otherwise, but like I said, I did not watch all the games, so I just feel like from some of the clips that I saw, it wasn't awful. So anyway, it's going to be a long weekend, I think, for Giants fans. So buckle in, get ready to just kind of relax and focus on the playoffs or whatever else you want to do this weekend. Maybe you don't want to worry about football on the weekend. Enjoy your weekends and just, sit back and wait for that notification that John Harbaugh is the coach of the New York Giants. So enjoy the rest of your weekend, you guys. I put the Dolphins in here, but I haven't really heard all that much about it recently. It really sounds like the Falcons and the Titans are the top two in the mix. I've also seen don't completely rule out the Dolphins. I think if it's between the Falcons, Titans, and Giants, the Dolphins are probably not getting anywhere close to matching any of those three teams. So if I hear anything new about the Dolphins, we will talk about that tomorrow. In the meantime, enjoy the rest of your night. We will be back on Friday, maybe celebrating, maybe getting ready to relax and enjoy this weekend. So stay tuned for more.